Hello. Welcome back to my channel, Leonology. I'm Leon. This is my mind understanding this reality that we are in, and the awareness at that. I believe in source and source energy, okay? We're talking about information, okay? There's 3 points I'm talking about. I'm gonna talk about how all things are information, how all information is interconnected in various degrees, and how all information already exists, okay? So, know that everything is information, okay? Everything. When you eat something, you pick up a sandwich. You know how the sandwich feels. You can see the sandwich. You bite into the sandwich. And you taste whatever is in the sandwich. The meat, the cheese, the lettuce, all that good stuff. But the main point is that you take in that information. Not all information we keep in our subconscious, but regardless, all information that we interact with in the present moment, we absorb that information. It's up to other factors if we keep it or not. But either way, we absorb that information. When you exercise, we literally see ourselves absorb the information of working out, of running, of doing squats, okay? And our body absorbs the information and changes itself to a form of, just a stronger form of itself. Exercise. So that's us doing an action that absorbs information that will change us. So does eating. Same thing. Okay. How about, when you come up with ideas? What is that? If you look at a physical object, let's say a chair, okay? And you create a mental image in your mind of a chair, of that chair. Well, one, it cannot be that chair because you don't have the information of how that chair was created. Meaning that you don't intimately know how to make that chair. You only have the information of what that chair's outer look is. So you can only go as far as creating an image, a likeness of the chair that's only surface level of the chair, but the foundation of the chair you cannot recreate. What does that mean? That you're only creating a likeness of a chair, but not that actually chair. But, interesting point, if you had all that information and you were a chair maker and you knew how that chair was made, then you could possibly make almost an exact replica of the chair, but even then, it will always be a likeness, a very close likeness, but still a likeness. What does that mean? That almost no one can recreate the same idea. Impossible. Information doesn't work like that because every single mind and brain has a different interpretation of information because we are not all the same beings. So information will always be different, even if it's a very small difference, we all create likenesses of the same idea. That's information, okay? All things are information. There is nothing that a human being does in this reality that won't be absorbed as information. Nothing. Even when you sleep, you take in information. We dream. Even when if someone's talking to you and you're not listening to them, you're still absorbing all that information. You just don't know it. This is why we try to remember, what did that guy say? What did he say? Sometimes we can recall it, sometimes we can't. What I mean by this is we can't escape it. That's what I mean by that. We cannot escape it. No escape. No matter if you're in a cave, there's no escape. We can't get away from it. It doesn't matter if you're in a cave. It doesn't matter if you're isolated. You will absorb information. The difference is you may not be able to advance that information too much, but even if you were locked in a cave for 3 years, every day, even if you're standing still, because there will be new things that would generally happen. Oh, there's a bug that went my way. Oh, next time it comes, I'm going to move this way or this way. And you're going to just be able to ponder. If you ponder and can think in any degree, the information will always mutate into another form of itself. It may be minor, or it can be a great various form, you know. So what does that mean? Information mutates. Just as a virus, it mutates itself. When you have one idea, that idea will extend to another idea. And then that idea will extend to another idea. And that idea will extend to another idea. It mutates. That's why information is a little bit scary, because you can't escape it. It mutates itself, and also it's alive. What does that mean? Well, everything about this world is information. Even us. What information with a certain amount of awareness. So that information is now being expressed, and we are alive. When someone created a table, right? That table wasn't real. It was only real in our minds. Then we expressed it, and we quote unquote brought it to life in the awareness of a chair, which is no awareness at all. It has not, if it has an awareness, it's not something that we can perceive, understand, or interact with. Okay? Because something interesting is that plants have awareness. They understand fear, they understand love, they understand those two emotions, and they communicate to each other. But they just don't communicate in ways that we can easily understand, because we use language and numbers. Okay, so we understand information mutates. It doesn't just stay the same, it mutates. No matter how small, it will constantly mutate and evolve itself, okay? And it's alive. What do I mean? What do I mean when I say it's alive? I mean that the information that acquired, if expressed, can be expressed in this reality. So we're moving on now. Now that you somewhat understand that, in relations to the mind, especially the human mind, anything you do will be absorbed as information and exist within our subconscious. So everything we do, all actions we express, are actions that happen to us. Anything we do is an interaction of information. We absorb that information. It will mutate itself with the previous information and the information that we're taking on at present time and create something new. Okay? It mutates. It's alive because we can express this information into this world. It's not going to be stagnant. We're not going to have an idea that's almost impossible to do. It may not be possible currently, but more than likely it will be eventually possible. So now we're moving on to the next. The next of this is that information is interconnected. What do I mean by that? All information is interconnected, okay? This is what evolution is about. We could not get to the point in time we are now without the history of how we got there. What I mean by that, we wasn't just appeared with bikes. We didn't just appear with pies, with food, with helmets, with cars. No, it took time, effort, patience, and creation to keep creating, and that information evolving and mutating to get to where we are now. What does that mean? Well, it's interconnected. Meaning the very first invention, well, I don't know if it's the first, but that caveman that made the wheel, that we assume made the wheel all those years ago, He didn't just make the wheel. He created a singularity of that wheel that was going to mutate itself, because information mutates itself, into all these possibilities that he are now putting into this world. So when an individual creates information and he expresses it, that information becomes even more real because other human beings, individuals, can absorb that information and start to create new ideas, concepts, and expressions that wasn't there before. Okay? So information is interconnected. It can become more real and less real. When I think about running, that possibility is real. But it becomes more real when I start putting on my running clothes. And then it becomes almost the realest when I start to actually do it and run around the block, okay? But all those things I just said, thinking about running, putting on my running clothes and shoes, running shoes, and then actually going for the run, all that information is interconnected. And I could not do the expression of the run without thinking about wanting to run. Okay? So this means, if you start to see the conceptual idea, is that it isn't just those small steps. It's that all information about this reality, and I told you guys this before, was created. Now I'm going to tell you how it was done, how creation really began. We know this from Genesis, Adam and Eve, the singularity. There's so many different singularities, but I'm talking about the singularity that created other singularities, that created other information that are interconnected. Source, the divine source that created this entire reality, this reality, took a small point of itself, okay, a small piece of information it just took from itself. Boom. Made the landscape of reality. You call it the void, you could call it nothing, whatever. And he threw a little information in there. That information started to mutate. Now, Source gave that information the power to mutate, and then whatever that small information was, that the physical expression of that information would mutate and mutate and keep mutating until it started to create human beings. You know, human beings are actually made of carbon, which is space dust, meaning that in the beginning of all these materials that existed in the Big Bang, the possibility of human beings existed because carbon existed. So we already existed in the sense that eventually we will be created from the pattern of the universe. Okay? What am I talking about? I just said it. That's the Big Bang. The Big Bang is Source, the sentient energy of all creation, started to ponder and think about worlds and amongst worlds, about information, things of all things. But it was conceptual. So Source said, okay, I want to express some of these thoughts in a physical, experiential sense. So boom, I'm going to take some elements, some materials that have a possibility to create things. Then I'm going to let that information mutate in itself so it can create more and more things. That is the Big Bang, a mutation of information, and that information was expressed physically. Just how Genesis, he said, let there be light. He is expressing the power of non-conceptuality, of thoughts, into a physical sense, and then when they become a physical sense, these materials have so many possibilities to create other things. AKA, make everything matter. Then, make that matter, those atoms, be able to take different forms of various degrees. Okay? And then those different forms of various degrees can create other things. Okay? And then other things, and then other things, and then other things. Mutates among mutations among mutations. Okay? Now, this is how it's all interconnected, because it all comes from the same source. It comes from the universal source of the source of all creation energy, and then it comes from a small piece of information that that this whole reality is composed of. This is the Big Bang. This is how all worlds, all realities, all existence is all created from the Big Bang. And the Big Bang is an example of source creating the source code, throwing the source code into a world of its own, materializing it into a physical reality. And then that physical reality has the possibility, it's the guaranteed possibility of create. It will create, but what will it create? And I don't want to go too much into multiverse theory. I'm going to make a video about that. But that is information. Information is interconnected, and that interconnectedness, this is the truth of all things. That everything comes from a similar source of information, no matter how it looks. That chair and that bike and the sand in Egypt is all interconnected. That it all came from a single point of information that kept mutating itself, okay? That is how information is interconnected. Also, something I'm going to talk about real quick is, the next point is that all information exists. All information exists. What does that mean? That the past, present, and future all exist right now. All of it. The past, present, future all exist. This is true because all information exists. I don't mean all information exists in a stagnant position waiting to come out. No, because time is information. Space-time is information. Specific locations at specific times is also information. Even the complexity of the interconnectedness of information is still information. Meaning that when it happens, how it happens, why it happens, is all interconnected in information. Just how when you watch a movie and you pause it and you skip through the movie to get to the good parts, all that is still interconnected. Even the making of the movie is interconnected in the watching of the movie. We don't see the making, but it's still interconnected. Past, present, future. The past is information, the present's information, and the future's information. Period. When things happen is also information. So, if all information exists, this is why you can prophesize. Okay? Because all world, it isn't that all world is like a movie. A movie is like all world. Okay? The past, this is why prophecies in the Bible always came to light. You know, I used to really think, how could someone prophesy something before it happens? Because there's so many possibilities of existence. How can you prophesize and say this thing will happen? This is how you do it. I'm going to just touch on multiverse theory. When you prophesize, it's not saying that it is going to guarantee happen in this reality. What it's saying is that it is guaranteed going to happen in some reality. And it's up to you to get to that reality if you want to. This is true prophecies. Some prophecies come true, some don't. Why? Because prophecies are just possibilities. But if you believe in those possibilities, then you are getting closer to living in the world where those prophecies come true. Okay? That may seem kind of crazy, but that's how prophecies, because all information exists. The source can see which timeline of info where that prophecy is being expressed. What do I mean by that? Source code, the divine energy of all. can look at all the information, all the past, present, and future. And there are some timelines where in year 3000, there are some timelines with 2012, that prophecy about Doomsday Prophecy 2012, it happens. And there's also some timelines where it doesn't happen, okay? And in the timeline where it doesn't happen, even if someone prophesies it before 2012, it's still real. This is what we call multiverse theory, that there are other timelines and possibilities happening simultaneously of each other, and where different things happen, okay? So prophecies are real and not real at the same time, okay? Some timelines they happen, some timelines they do not happen. But either way, they're interconnected information. So you can have a prophecy because we know 100% all information will be expressed. Now that's period. Now, will it be physically expressed? We don't know that because we're in this dimension. But conceptually, you kind of can think about it. Am I gonna go left or right? Even if I go left, I could have went right. Meaning that that's a true, real possibility that could have been expressed. And more than likely, there's no reason why there isn't a reality where I did go right. Because there's no reason for me, there's nothing that's possibly stopping me from going right. You know, so prophecy is interconnected in information because all things are interconnected. So when someone has a prophecy in the Bible or a prophecy in a game, usually those people that read the prophecy and then they say, oh, these are the steps that has to be taken for the prophecy to come to life, and they start feeding in their power, energy, execution, and time into that prophecy. Meaning that they're making that idea, that information, be brought to life. Not that it couldn't be or wouldn't be brought to life, but brought to life, okay? So that's just a little thing about prophecy I want to talk about. But also, I also want to talk about, if all information already exists, that means that information is predetermined. Okay? It's predetermined. Just how when you're a baby and you're born and you know how to breathe, your lungs work, your heart works, all that stuff is RNA. All that stuff is DNA, is information embedded in our DNA, so they know what jobs they're supposed to do. When we get foreign viruses or foreign infections in our body, our white blood cells know that they are the blood cells to go in and fight and combat. Okay? And the question is, how much information is predetermined? How much? Is destiny predetermined? Is fate predetermined? Is me walking outside and getting robbed or attacked predetermined? That's where you gotta start asking. Those questions we don't know. Because even if you said yes, you can rearrange it and say, oh, well, anything that happens to me is predetermined. Chilling. But then again, it may not have been predetermined until you took that mindset. So that's like, who knows? But the point of the question is to understand that there are some things that are predetermined. And as we understand more about the word, we kind of start to see that the possibility is predetermined in the sense that if you believe in the multiverse theory, which I 100% know is true, is that everything that can happen, all actions, all worlds, all realities, anything that can happen will happen. Meaning that all information that is being mutated or expressed is happening in a real way on its own. Regardless if human beings are doing it or not, because you have to understand, information exists independent of human beings. Okay? Information isn't created by us. We discover. We are discoverers of this information. Okay? Whoever created Superman, they didn't create Superman. They discovered the essence of a form of what you call Superman and bring it to this world to make it more real and put it in comic books. But because of this reality, the limitations of this reality, there is no real Superman flying around saving the day. The closest thing to get to that is maybe like a firefighter or a police officer or something like that. But an actual person like Superman doesn't exist in our world due to its limitations. So we can only make that information as real as comic books, movies, and things of that nature. But yes, information. Information is predetermined. There's predetermined the information, there are information that exists in our world that's predetermined, that exists independent, and information that exists independent of human beings. We don't create information, we just discover all information that's already created. This is why in the Bible, God said, I have created all things seen and unseen. What does that mean? That means he created all the information that's being expressed and not of yet being expressed. He is a creator of possibilities and creator of actuality, I should say. Okay. And so, coming to the end of it, because I think I made a few good points, is that information, and this, before I get to the end point, is that anything a human does, anything a mind does really, animals too, animals, coyotes, cheetahs, lions, they all take in information and change themselves and interact to that information as well. I use human beings because it's easier to relate to who I'm talking to. But all minds, really everything in a sense, take on information. We know this because if you get a chair and you put it in the same place for 100 years, the material of that chair will start to decrease and get weaker. Why? Because time, in essence, is also information. And it takes on that information of time, even if it's not aware of it, and gets older. This is why information is independent of us. There's too many aspects of this reality that we are just affected and submissive to rather than in control to. That means there's information that we can't manipulate and we can't do anything about, but we just have to accept it and work around it, okay? So there are some form of predeterminism, but there also is some form of non-predetermined. In a sense, it's predetermined if I'm gonna go up, down, left, right, or move around, right? All that stuff's predetermined that one of those possibilities I'm gonna take. But which possibility is up to me. So there's some predeterminism in the world, and also there isn't. Okay? It gets real complicated because yes and no becomes one. All right? Now, what I want to get is, and this is the last of my information, is where is it? I'm going to talk about how the human mind connects to this, but I wanted to save that for the human mind. But where is it? Where's the information? Very important. If all this information exists, where is it? It's all around us, one. But if all the information exists, how is it that we don't have crazy amounts of things in this world? Because the only information that can exist in this world is information that is of origin or from the original source point of information. Meaning that we're not going to have someone like Superman flying around in this world because this world doesn't, as of yet, doesn't have people who can fly around and have superpowers. So we don't really know if that's even a possibility, but we can say because it hasn't happened yet, it's probably not a possibility for this world. It's like, well, I can't wait for a time for the sun not to exist. Well, that's a real possibility. But for right now in this current time frame, that's not possible. And the reason why I'm saying these things is that there are some possibilities that can be expressed in this world and there are some that cannot. It all comes down from what information is this world based upon? What small amount of information, what laws and divine reality did the divine source take from himself, manifest into this reality, and put us here to be submissive of it? We don't know, only the source truly knows, but we got good guesses. But where? All information exists in a different reality. When I say different reality, I mean the same thing, different dimension. All information exists in a different dimension. We are connected to this dimension, and that's why we can absorb information and connect with it. I'm going to talk more about that in the mind. But just to say it, all minds, I've said this before, is all minds are connected to that dimension. When we eat something, we don't take in the information of the sandwich. We're connected to the information that understands that's a sandwich. And when we eat the sandwich, or when we run, when we exercise, when we fall in love, we're taking information from that dimension based upon our interaction of that subform information and getting it right back to us. So I pick up a rock, I'll look at the rock. Me absorbing that information is not the rock to me. It's the rock connected to that other dimension. My awareness to the rock is also connected to that dimension. And then when I feel it, touch it, and absorb that information, whatever way I do, that information is now being shot back at me for me to either absorb or not instantaneously. It exists in different dimensions. All information. Superman, the Green Goblin, books, bikes, cars, all anyone's ever did was taking the information from that realm. And I'm going to end it here, but I'm going to talk a little bit about this is how we get this is how God speaks to us. God speaks to us through our mind using information. Why does it say in the Bible, the source knows you better than you know yourself? Because he knows how you created, why you created that. He knows the origin of information that you react or interact with. So he knows the possibilities that you will even take on. But information is truly connected to our minds. It's connected to our minds. And source knows exactly what a person has been thinking, what a person does, what he truly feels in his heart, how he truly interacts with information. If a person doesn't like a person but wants to pretend like he does, he or she, source knows this because you're not in your own dimension, you're not in your own mind and no one else can connect to it but you. No, source is the only other entity that truly knows your mind and everything that goes on with it. And this is why God speaks to his prophet or chosen ones. Because the source is aware, it's sentient of what's going on in this world. And then it chooses the pieces, when I say pieces like a chessboard, the human beings that are going to, I would say, that have a certain connection to it, and source is aware enough to be like, I want this person to carry on this message. So yes, source actually, and we know this from the Bible and other biblical accounts, that source is speaking to people and connect to them. It's like how? Well, when Jesus meditated and he was speaking to his Father, no one heard a voice. What was the voice? No, he was speaking to him from his heart, which even if that's true, whatever the heart says gets interpreted to the mind. Information. So we're connected, so just to say, we're connected to a realm where all information exists. In this realm, this is one of the closest aspects of dimensions that God is in, that the source is in. And he connects to certain people because we're already connected to the source. All minds are already connected to the source. And, sometimes he speaks to people, sometimes he doesn't, or maybe source is speaking to everybody and no one's listening. But that's the point, that our minds are directly connected to information. Information mutates itself. Information is alive, okay? Information is alive because it mutates itself. It uses us as conduits, as hosts to mutate itself and continue the creation process. All right, well, that's information. Just to close it out, one more time, love repeating myself. All things are information. Anything you can do, think, act, or be, physical and non-physical, is information that we interpret into ourselves. Regardless if we're aware of it or not. All information is interconnected because information came from a singular point that mutated itself and is continuously mutating itself. This is what we call the Big Bang. And this is why the universe is expanding itself continuously. because that information is mutating itself, seen and unseen. And all information exists because God created all things seen and unseen, meaning He created the Alpha and Omega. He created the beginning of all information, also the end of all information, if there is an end. So yeah, all information already exists. This is why prophecy exists. This is why God knows exactly what you're going to do, because He could just go into the timeline of you doing that action and say, oh, I knew you were going to do it. But really it's a trick, because there's a timeline where you didn't do it, multiverse theory, but He's not going to speak to you then because it doesn't matter. So it's all, So that's the point. That's information. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Comment if you think it's interesting. And yeah, thanks for watching. Praise Source.